Some context of the tiny home village for folks who may not be aware. This is a site that's located in the International District, adjacent to the Albuquerque Indian Center. And at New Mexico, this is New Mexico's first tiny home transitional housing project that was funded by Bernalillo County and is managed by the Indian Center. It's located at 101 Texas Street, and it opened its doors to the first residents in February of 2021. And the site consists of 30 standalone, 120 square foot furnished, heated, and cooled living units with individual porches, and 5 are wheelchair accessible. These are well lit, or they're accompanied by 8 single occupancy, well lit, visible, lockable bathrooms, and a communal village house. So the site is fully fenced and gated, and will have trees, gardens, and open living areas. So this is some kind of give you a sense of what the tiny home village looks like at its completion. And when developing the call for art, the committee made sure to develop or to include the goals for the Bernalillo County Tiny Home Village. So this is a listing of the goals for the tiny home village. So the artists were all aware of the goals of providing dignified, safe, stable, and attractive transitional housing. And also the other opportunities that the tiny home village provides. So these are all available on the website. I won't go through each goal, but basically the idea is the public art for the tiny home village really is considerate of the context of the village itself and the villagers. So this is again another image of what the context of the village, what it actually looks like, a rendering on the right hand side of the communal garden area and the houses themselves. And then the possible sites that were identified for public art. So we really are focusing on areas that are visible to the public because this is a locked community. The artwork per the 1% for the Arts Ordinance needs to be visible and accessible to the general public. So with the locations of the art being in the welcoming area, the parking lot, the guest welcome area, this is really truly the most visible public site of the space. So that was the committee's focus, was on this parking area here. So you'll see reflected in the artist presentations these locations. So and these are some of the goals for the artwork itself that were built into the call for art. It was really the committee's desire that the artwork be participatory in the very beginning stages of the planning of the project, the creation of the art, and from beginning to end. And then also that it be helpful and provide the residents of the village an opportunity to see inspiring content and have something that would be really engaging and inspiring as they're residents of the village. So some additional goals for the artwork and the proposals. And so these are all available also on our website as well. But when viewing the presentations today, this is something to keep in mind, that the artists were asked to really take into consideration the villagers and the context of the site being in the International District and the sensitive nature of the population, people experiencing homelessness and recovering from homelessness. So you'll see that reflected in the presentations today as well. Paula, welcome. Thank you so much. We're honored to have you as our first presenter today.
Hello, thank you so much for having us here today. I know it's a really busy afternoon, and it takes a lot to get this many people together. So thank you to Kent and all of you for making it work with your schedules today. So my name is Paula Castillo, and I was born and raised in, I guess, what we now call the urban fringe of Albuquerque. I've worked in this part of the state for most of my adult life as an artist and an educator. I have a deep and broad understanding of the larger region's history and populations, both of which have been the motivation for most of my life's work to celebrate our local stories. My experiences have shown me the powerful impact our stories of strength have on contributing to our community's positive growth. I'd like to begin my presentation with this quote in this slide by Bernalillo County Commissioner Debbie O'Malley. I still have this image in my mind of this young man. He was opening his door. He had the key, and he was opening his door. My vision for your project began with this quote because your undertaking for Tiny Home Village is not just about the practical aspects of housing. Your larger idea is about supporting those who face hardship to begin to take control of their lives so they can contribute more fully to their community. A couple of things before we begin. Today, I'm going to present an overview of my proposal. I also shared the full written proposal with Kent. I'm sure he shared it with you, or will share it, or you can ask for it if you'd like to see it. Please review at your leisure afterwards. And if you have any follow-up questions, please do not hesitate to ask through Kent. As I'm presenting, as Kent mentioned, please feel free to type any questions or concerns into chat as they occur to you, and then I can answer these for you in greater detail at the end. Does everyone see where chat is? Because there's a Q&A, but we're using the chat. Does everybody know where that is? Everybody sees it? Good, we're all good, awesome. Okay, cool. Jody, you too? Mary, good. Awesome. Okay, so let's begin. Oops. Can you all still hear me? I may have accidentally muted. No, I didn't. Okay, so introduction. I am an interdisciplinary artist specializing in public art sculpture and participatory art. My skills and experience as an educator and an artist have informed my public community work. I have a Master of Arts in Education focused on critical literacy for populations who are experiencing challenges. Critical literacy in sort of the really broad definition, even beyond like the classroom, the full definition of reading is a phrase that means learning how to read signs in our fluid communities and environments, learning how to really read our community critically so we can more effectively engage in these environments. My main interest in Tiny Home Village is that it is a local and participatory public art project. Participatory art projects in the field of public art are truly the exception rather than the rule. So I was super excited to see this call. I think it was the summer of 2020. As I mentioned in my original application, participatory art was the central area of study for my MFA in 3D Studio from the University of New Mexico, which I earned in 2013. Before I applied to the 3D program at UNM, I successfully showed in galleries, museums, produced traditional public art for over a decade. But I always felt something was missing. I wanted to engage with others in the creative process, particularly the storytelling process. So for my MFA, I developed an independent self-directed course of study on the range of participatory art methods to develop this side of my practice. Since then, I've completed numerous art projects under the large umbrella of participatory art in education and community-based work. Developing stories in a community setting showcases the depth of experience that exists in a single place and puts to rest the nagging problem of artist as hero. We all are heroes and we all have poignant stories to share. It's critical for our community's health to share our stories of strength in public as much as possible. Okay, impact. The work I am proposing is an interactive public sculpture that serves as a vehicle for storytelling for residents of Tiny Home Village. The work will be immediately noticeable from Central Avenue and Texas Street and throughout the campus. It will provide an imaginative and comforting identity marker integrated into Tiny Home's contemporary yet homey aesthetic. I am imagining something large and delicate, quiet yet stunning. Neighbors will see the sculpture from a distance. It will serve as a beacon for Tiny Home Village. The texture and handmade elements will draw folks up close. This community sculpture will become a joyful and enduring landmark in harmony with your message of Tiny Home Village. And I quote from the committee's prospectus: "When public art is participatory and involves the community in the planning and creation of the art, it can help build a shared cultural identity, reinforce a sense of self-efficacy, and increase positive health behaviors." Above in this slide, along the horizontal, is an example of an armature design as shown in a rotated 360-degree view. As a team, the villagers and I will choose a shape for the armature based on a collaborative artistic process. Maybe it's this abstract butterfly as seen here, or another shape. The ultimate goal is for the villagers to select a form that is personal to them and carries their stories with dignity and meaning. The fabrication of the armature will be my single sculptural contribution to the project. The surface designs that you see on the right are just examples that show how this shape, this 3D shape of a sculpture, provides a canvas for community creations. The paper cutting and storytelling seminars I'm going to offer will inspire everyone to create elements that we will curate together for the final surface of the public piece. This sculpture will be lit up at night and gently spin during the day and night, as seen in the animation in this next slide. Now on to quality. This image is seen from underneath this particular idea. The entire project honors the villagers, honors the surrounding neighborhood, and Tiny Home Village's very important collaboration with the Albuquerque Indian Center. Through all the facets of the project, from community outreach to theme to impact and installation, the process of making the sculpture will involve the Tiny Home Village community in planning, creating, and celebrating the art. Now on to theme. This project's theme began with my awareness of the incredible amount of grit required to navigate homelessness. Although political conversations across the United States and here in our home state of New Mexico commit to ending homelessness, homeless people are frequently denied their humanity in their everyday lives. Instead, communities commonly brand them as socially unworthy. Neighbors often see them as strangers who invoke fear. Their dignity is stripped away little by little with every passing person. Most of us suffer when we feel even a tiny amount of marginalization in our family lives or the workplace. The level of stigmatization a homeless person faces daily is beyond compare. Combine this with the harsh physical realities of daily life, being in the intensity of the outdoors 24/7, scavenging for the scraps we discard, always harboring the fear of someone discovering them, harming them. As time goes by, this all takes its toll, causing anxiety, depression, and cognitive and immunity issues. Yet, every day, most people who are homeless strive to be hopeful for the future. This understanding led me to a very specific theme for this project. The theme is a tribute to people who have been or are currently challenged by homelessness. This theme is essential for two reasons. First, for the reason just mentioned, the ability of those who deal with homelessness to face this challenge with extraordinary courage and hopefulness. The second relates to academic studies conducted on people who are experiencing homelessness. For me, reflection and research are very important to my artistic practice. They help me in translating what is important about each community I interact with. So in beginning my approach to the theme, I sought out academic studies that examine the strengths of people who had faced homelessness. Sadly, there are very few studies that assess strengths. The great majority of research on homelessness only analyze pathologies, but the few I did find that focused on strengths concluded something very poignant. And that is, despite their marginalized position in society, homeless self-reported that they had many personal strengths, including high social intelligence, kindness, persistence, authenticity, and humor. For those of us who have been homeless or who have worked closely with people challenged by homelessness, these traits ring true. These studies felt very important to me because, in my experience, personal and community affirmation of existing character strengths builds confidence for us to make personal changes and enhance well-being. My life experience has taught me this to be true. These studies, combined with my understanding of public space as a public artist, that is, the site where we as a culture express how we esteem ourselves and each other, inspired the theme of paying tribute to people who have experienced homelessness. This theme, focusing on strengths, may correct misperceptions that hinder positive life change and ease societal integration, such as finding housing or employment. I believe this will also help our larger community see people who are or have been homeless as complex individuals who, like ourselves, possess many positive traits. My goal with this work follows your prospectus, and it's to engender a strong emotional impact on villagers and neighbors. So it is essential to reflect on the cultural origins of Albuquerque and Bernalillo County. I began to think about beacons and totems because culturally, beacons and totems visually signify we have arrived home, or they act as guideposts pointing to the way home. Totems, especially in Diné culture, serve as intentional guardianship symbols. They watch over communities. The most recent cross-cultural research on totems also suggests that they are an emblem of who we want to be. So as I began to work on this initial idea of a totem or a beacon, I was especially drawn to butterfly symbolism. The butterfly is a significant symbol in this region among the Hopi and speakers of Tiwa, Tewa, Toa, and Quires and Indo-Hispanics, Latinx. Butterfly symbolism mirrors many homeless self-perceived strengths: courage, hope, endurance, and authenticity. The butterfly symbol also works as a representation of renewal and courage to embrace transformation to make life better. I look forward to sharing ideas for the armature with the village community so that together we will find a shape that is a meaningful and symbolic fit for the theme and site. Okay, now on to more practical details, the installation. The model at the left, at 6 feet tall, serves to show you scale. The sculpture, as seen on the right, will fill a volume of approximately 12 feet by 3 feet by 3 feet. If the piece is placed in a circulation path, we will make sure that we follow all ADA requirements, including that it has a minimum vertical clearance of 80 inches. My first instinct was that the villagers and I would together develop a piece solely for the villagers to experience. This idea began to change when I first came to the site. I actually accidentally drove right past it when I made the left turn off Central Avenue to Texas Street. This oversight inspired me to think about installing the artwork like a true beacon where the community can also see it. And after spending time reflecting for weeks on the theme of paying tribute to people challenged by homelessness, I began to realize that it is essential to the theme to install the sculpture where both the larger community and the villagers experience it as a sign of this remarkable site and the extraordinary people who live here. The sculpture could work well in one of these locations, I believe. There's another one that Kent reminded me of too, anywhere really, but these are the three that I saw, seen in this upper left slide, the northeast corner of the property west of the entrance, which was the main one in the prospectus. In the lower left slide, slightly south of the recycling refuse area. And in the bottom right slide, this is actually Miss Mieta's idea, and I thought it was really interesting to consider the northeast corner of the property on the east, outside of the entrance, right across from the guard casita. That being said, I feel the site selection should be a collaborative community effort to further ownership and pride over this entire process and the final public art piece. The rotating feature will require some unique engineering. I've already consulted with an Albuquerque-based New Mexico certified structural engineer who said that the rotation is very doable considering the budget and preliminary design. We will be using self-lubricating thrust ball bearings because they will make the sculpture virtually maintenance-free, and they also have excellent carrying capacity for support of thrust loads. From here, the installation of the sculpture is straightforward. After the piece's general location is selected, together we will check all utility site plans to ensure no interference. Next, we will assist in pouring an engineered reinforced concrete pad with engineered shaft inserted. Once this is cured, we'll schedule an appropriately sized crane from an Albuquerque-based company for installation day with an operator. The operator will position the piece above the pad and the shaft, then the sculpture will be lowered and we will secure it according to all requirements established by the engineer. Now on to durability of materials. The armature will be fabricated out of powder-coated aluminum, and the surface will be CNC cut colored acrylic plastic. Both aluminum and acrylic plastic are some of the toughest materials on our planet. They are both naturally corrosion and UV resistant and much lighter than steel, so parts can be made thicker and stronger while still reducing the object's weight. They are beautiful and durable materials for permanent outdoor objects. Now on to what I see as the most important aspect of this project, the community outreach. The spirit of participatory art guides my approach to the community outreach plan. Participatory art, as you all know, because this is in your prospectus, and again, this is very rare. I apply to tons of public art projects and I'm looking for the ones that are participatory. It's not common at all. And I'm so grateful to you all for thinking of this because it's a very important idea. But participatory art, as you all know, is a beautiful mechanism for creating the structure needed for people who have historically been excluded in communities to effectively participate in their community. Villagers will contribute to this art project on personal and public levels and in meaningful and common sense ways. And the larger community will recognize these contributions for years to come. The plan is straightforward and includes a 7-unit seminar focused on engaging our group in paper cutting techniques for telling stories. The curriculum for the seminar can be seen in complete form on slide 17. Please review the details at your leisure on your written presentation. I'd like to point out a couple of highlights about the seminar. In the first 6 workshops, we will simply spend time together to develop basic paper cutting skills, to get to know each other naturally, to develop friendships. During this period, I will also gently introduce the magic of storytelling through paper cutting. Traditional oral tales continue to permeate our communities from being shared with us through families, education, communities, and even popular culture. These stories strongly influence our collective imaginations. As well, the stories we are personally drawn to may indicate characteristics we admire, who we want to be, or what challenges we need to work through to become healthier. But these stories are never too heavy, and the protagonist is always a hardy survivor. So during this period of the first six workshops, we will share and discuss stories we know and like the Indo-Hispanic Chicano legend of Don Cacahuate, a traveler who successfully crosses cultural borders using laughter, reflection, and an avant-garde interpretation of cultural mores. Or the Dene Coyote, the unlikely cultural hero who brings attention to society's problems using humor. Or even a Grimm brother tale, like the retelling of the oral folk tale of the Three Little Pigs story, highlighting the lesson of resourcefulness. Not until workshop 7, after villagers feel comfortable with me and my team and with our project, will they make the intimate and important decision of choosing a story they wish to tell, one of the classic tales, one of their own, or a combination. Another highlight relates to the goal of this community art engagement. The goal is not for villagers to merely produce subject matter for the public art. The goal is for them to tell their important stories of strength through their art making. Both art therapy and pure participatory art remind us that authentic personal meaning is revealed when we make art for ourselves. This is how truly valuable work gets made. Villagers will be creating personal art objects to tell their important stories. As seen here, the products are a pop-up box that establishes the setting to their story, and a theater book, the full version of the story, both using paper cutting techniques. The work done for these personal art products will also become the content for the public sculpture. Together, we will create a visual collage for the public sculpture surface using the villagers' stories through their paper cuts. We will translate this work into digital files for CNC laser cutting using my portable laser cutting machine. Then acrylic plastic cutouts will be heat welded together using a portable hot air welder and forms made from my portable 3D printer to create the sculpture's organic surface shapes. I'm so excited about this process and how the public piece will bear witness to the villagers' personal stories of strength and through a weaving of collaborative elements that are very authentic and are owned by the villagers. I'm also thrilled to engage the villagers in contemporary art making practices buoyed by the latest technological developments that can be translated into potential educational and work opportunities. In the next slide is a video showing a sample lesson to give you a sense of the format and my style. This is the 5th workshop in the seminar. I'm going to just play a few seconds of it here. Please feel free to review the full 3 minutes of it. It's embedded in your written proposals. Today, we're going to make basic symmetrical paper cuts using folded sheets of paper. For inspiration, we're going to be looking at the objects that we brought to class during our introductions to each other for our first lesson, and also the natural objects that we collected on our walk through the village this morning. So first, I take a piece of paper and fold it. For now, we are using the symmetrical fold. To fold your paper, you join the edges, and then using your folding edge from your toolkit, make sure it's folded nice and flat. Oops. So you can watch that later. It's pretty basic, but fun. So I will be delivering these lessons live, in person or remote. One side note, my entire household, including my elderly father who I care for, have all received vaccines. We feel very protected. I believe the best case scenario, of course, is doing this in person, following all COVID protocols, so we can develop our relationships naturally. but I am your collaborative partner in whatever direction you choose and feel is appropriate. So here is the full curriculum. Again, review this at your leisure. I'd like to bring attention to the final highlight, the culminating event, a community-wide art show hosted in the Tiny Home Village Community Center in Unit 17, in Unit 7, forgive me. Together, the villagers and my team and I will plan and host this celebration for all who have brought tiny homes to fruition in our community. The event will feature an art show of the villagers' work of choice, the pop-up boxes, the theater books, other objects. This event will coincide with the public installation of the sculpture. Celebrating this work in a community setting will provide all of us with a renewed sense of meaning and purpose in the Tiny Home Project. A community-wide art show will give villagers a sense of belonging, provide them with a moment of renewal to reevaluate and reaffirm their path, and importantly, prepare them for the next stage in their lives at Tiny Home Village. Now the budget. This is pretty straightforward and standard. It's pretty much public art boilerplate. One item I'd like to bring your attention to is the second line, workshop fees, material and team. $4,000 for this section for art materials and support for the villagers' art making. I will purchase materials to fully support the villagers' art making so they can produce enduring objects. I would also like to hire at least one person to assist me in the seminar, someone who will help us with the flow of the workshops, from interacting with folks to demonstrating techniques to brainstorming opportunities. Also, with your permission, I'd like to invite community guests to our workshops to also participate as is feasible, not overwhelmingly, but one person maybe every other workshop or so, like the structural engineer, or local poets and storytellers, art therapists, owners of local fabrication shops, the crane company, etc. I think this would provide an important opportunity to further your commitment to connect the larger community to Tiny Home Village. Other than that, everything is pretty standard in this budget. Please let me know in questions if you want to go back to this and look at any details, or if you have any detailed questions about any aspect of the budget. Okay, now on to questions. I would like to say, if it's possible, Kent, if I could just, after the questions, if I could just spend just a few seconds to close. Other than that, did anybody type a question in? Let's see. I don't even see the chat here, guys.
Ooh, yeah.
Oh, there it is. Someone did, yay. Oh, it was Kent.
And then there's, yeah, to go and make the image bigger, it looks like I just saw that as well. Is there any particular, Bernadette, is there any particular image you wanted to go and look at with a higher resolution or zoomed in? Let's see,
I need to
okay.
unmute myself.
Yeah.
Actually, the budget sheet, I really couldn't read
Okay,
any.
let's, thank you, Bernadette. Let's look back here.
Thank you.
Oh, you know what? Yeah, I still am sharing. How does that look? Is that a little bit better? Let's see, there we go. Does that seem better?
Yes, much better.
Okay, sorry about that, thank you.
No worries. I'm sight challenged.
So my design community outreach fees is 15%, which is standard. Engineering fees, 2% standard. Then pretty much, I mean, the remaining budget is to produce this work. Sometimes contingencies are 10. I have it at 5 because it's a smaller project. Administration fees sometimes at 10. I have it at 5 too. Bernadette, do you have any questions, or anybody have any questions about any details with this?
I don't, thank you. I appreciate it.
Mr. Garcia, do you? I see your, I saw your hand waving. You have to unmute. I see that you're muted. There you go. There you go.
Hear us now? Is it better?
We can hear you now.
There you go. Oops. Yeah, we're having trouble hearing you. I don't know if you can.
Can you hear now?
Still kind of muted. Yeah, you might just need to get closer to the screen, unfortunately.
Okay.
There you go.
Can you hear now?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. I like the height. I like the fact that it has motion. I like the night lighting effect. The three options for location look pretty good. The aluminum with the powder coated steel looked good. In looking at the proposal, when you had other stuff, I liked your 2013 blue flower industrial steel work, as well as your 2019, and I'm not good at this, Cuesta del Cielo work. And one of the things about those two that I really liked was color. And I know
Yes.
you're dealing with smaller items here, but I'm thinking, is there any way that you can use color to do some type of transition that might be draw people more in to the work? Because otherwise, if it's rotating and it's small, and the use of color, if you could do some kind of a color wash from top to bottom or something like that with a transition in the middle, I think that might be a little bit more to draw people into it.
I agree with you. Are you Mr. Garcia?
No, I'm Mr. Tecumseh. I'm the chairman of
Mr.
the board of the
Tecumseh.
Indian Center.
I agree with you very much. And you may have missed this part. And I'm gonna see if I can bring this slide. So these are what I am proposing, Mr. Tecumseh, is that the sort of the surface. So we have on this slide, you see the armature, which is going to hold the surface together in this 3D form. That's going to be powder coated aluminum. And then the surface itself is going to be colored acrylic plastic, which is really an awesome material that in the last 2 years I've been working with. And you can do just exactly what you're talking about. There's such a wide range of possibilities for color from top to bottom. It's just so much more accessible than painting. Now, the armature, which is the object on the left, the thing that holds the sculpture together, that will be powder coated aluminum. And the villagers and I will decide. And of course, I think the thing I love about this project is when I say villagers or community, I mean all of us. Like, we're all talking, and certainly I don't want to overwhelm anyone, because sometimes there's too much information, but in a way that's really respectful, and to share with you where we're at and what you all think, what your opinion is, that sort of thing. Even bringing you all in one day to visit and talk to us about what you think. But the armature will have color. It will be powder coated. I don't know if you've ever experienced aluminum powder coating. It's beautiful. It's really soft, and it looks like thick paint, but because it's baked on, it doesn't flake, etc. Then the body is going to be this colored acrylic. And you can see here in this example, the cutouts. So you're going to, just like that piece that you mentioned, the Cuesta del Sol at the National Hispanic Cultural Center, these cutouts, but much more intimate, a different space, different object. You're going to be able to see through them, but the colors themselves will be very bright. Acrylic comes in a wide range of colors, even neon. And we will curate this together so it looks really beautiful. And I love your idea of the color coming down, starting with one, coming into other areas, etc. And that will last forever. Acrylic plastic well, sadly, it lasts forever. It's a problem. It lasts so long. The color is UV protected. There's not going to be any change in it whatsoever. And then when acrylic plastic is lit up at night, it's amazing. It's like spectral. It catches light in ways that are really different because of the medium. But thank you for that. Thank you for bringing attention to that. I really appreciate it, because color is a really important thing. And when you're dealing with sculptures, sometimes it's hard to talk about. So thank you very much.
Okay.
Paula, it looks like we have a couple more questions in the
Yes.
chat.
Yay. Awesome.
I think Miss Beal, she had the first question. So she had one in the chat, or if you want to unmute yourself.
I've unmuted myself. Hi, Paula. I just want to have an idea of the time frame, perhaps. From when you start with a participatory collaboration, how long do you guess? I realize that you can't give a finite answer, but just from your experience, round about how long would that take until the final product?
Thank you for that. Most public art projects do a year. Some public art administrations give you 2 years. I did take a look at on the actual the write up, the prospectus for this, and I think that you guys want this installed in fall of 2021. But I know that your schedule has changed, and it's been a crazy year. I think that, I'm a pretty quick worker. I feel like if you needed it to be done sooner than that, you would communicate and we would figure it out. But I like to give myself a year. I think that this project is so important. Again, not just about the production of this piece and the installation of the piece, but the process is so important. And I know that this cohort of folks that are at Tiny Home Village are going to be there for 2 years. I know that you already have residents, and so I'm imagining that this is they're gonna dovetail each other. But I think a year working with a group of people would be really important and would highlight this project in a way that's important for you and how you're imagining this project to expand in Albuquerque. I think it could really do justice to it if we didn't speed through it, but we didn't languish it either. I think a year feels good to me. And just as a side note, I've done a lot of public art projects. This is my field. I grew up with a family who makes things. It's for some folks in the community, when they start talking about public art, they get stressed about like talking to an engineer. This is just like old hat for me. And I know things can get done. There's some wonderful things in our larger community that will help us get this done in a year. Let me ask you this, Ms. Beal. Would you like it done sooner than that? What are you thinking?
I suppose the main reason why I'd asked that is we're still incrementally growing the village. So I was mainly concerned if this were a way shorter period, that newer villagers would be missing out. So I actually like the idea of a year, because that gives people the opportunity to still have some sort of buy-in as the project continues. And it would just allow more people to actually have a personal connection to it. So I'm very happy to hear that you're not going to rush through it.
And Ms. Beal, if you all wanted, I know this part of the process also takes time. You're going to select, then it has to go through approval, all that sort of in the contract. If you all wanted more time, I feel so strongly that you guys clearly are the collaborative partner in this, and we're a team, just like the villagers. We're all a team here. If you guys feel something and you want to share it with me, I love art, and I think this is such an important project, and I would be just thrilled to be a part of it, and so would do everything in my power to make sure it works well, and to do everything we can to make sure it works well for this population. So thank you, Ms. Beal.
All right, next we have another question from Tina Tomlin. So I could read that question for you, or if you want to unmute yourself, go.
I have unmuted myself. Thank you so much. Ms. Castillo, thank you very much for taking my question. My question is in regards to sustainability. We're talking about materials. I heard you say the coated aluminum, and I heard you say colored acrylic. Because I just don't know, so excuse my naivete, but what is the life cycle of those materials, especially when I hear colored acrylic? And at what point would the county need to start allocating funds for maintenance, and the bearings and how often they have to be maintained? That's my question.
Thank you. Thank you for that question, Ms. Tomlin. So the self-lubricating bearings, well, let me preface this with, and you guys may not like this answer, but this is something I struggle with with people who do fabrication for me. Sometimes if I'm doing a massive project or curiosity about materials, and I'll ask them, just tell me, how long is this thing going to last? So I get this. And the thing I've learned in the last couple of years is that public art, and again, you may not like this answer, but this is just a preface to the answer. Public art looks at 25 years as that's what we're looking for, is 25 years. That being said, in my life, 25 years has gone by pretty quickly. So I'm always thinking, well, I'd like it to last like at least 50. So the self-lubricating bearings, I have been told that probably every 10 years they would need some lubrication, and this will become part of our maintenance plan. But that's really nice. You may have another idea, but that feels really good to me. There's not going to be a problem with graffiti because this thing they're cut out, so it's like things aren't going to hang on to it. Acrylic plastic is like, it's shameful how long acrylic plastic lasts. It's going to last longer than we are going to last with the color. So that's one of the reasons I've been attracted to it, and I've been working with this material for a couple of years now. I just did a project for New Mexico State with acrylic plastic, and it's just, again, when you paint something, even if you use like the highest tech, the most expensive paint, things are going to change when you do it on steel, when you do it on ceramics, especially in a place like New Mexico. So the powder coating on the aluminum is going to last 25 years, and then it will start, like just fading a little bit, but the aluminum underneath is corrosion resistant. So that's a no-brainer. The colored plastic, like you're seeing here, the colored acrylic, this example here on this slide, is going to last longer than us in full color. So
Thank you very much.
thank you for asking that. Great.
All right, next up is Miss Bernadette.
Thank you. That was actually one of my questions in terms of conservation, but I just wanted to let you know, Tina, that, and Kent, correct me if I'm wrong, we do have part of your budget as conservation for artwork, correct?
Correct. So yeah, we would be able to, with the maintenance plan that the artist would provide, we would be providing regular maintenance. So yeah,
Okay.
that's
That's
built
great.
into the public art budget as well.
Yeah, I think that's really important for folks to know.
Yeah.
But I just wanted to comment on how much I appreciate the symbolism of the butterfly in indigenous cultures. It just seems so fitting for the village and new life and so forth. But when also you were talking about timeline, it just sort of hit me how apropos it would be to have the groundbreaking and ready in the spring, right? Because that's when butterflies come.
Yeah, that would be really sweet.
Yeah, my mind was just going. So just wanted to comment. I didn't know the relevance of the butterfly in so many cultures. So that was great to know. Thank you for sharing that.
And it makes sense. I mean, humans, we are, again, attracted to things, and we create stories based on the aspects of those living things that help us move forward and help us heal. And it's amazing. It's really interesting to think about symbols like that. That's why art is so important. They help guide us. And I think it's always, really important to, make sure that the community is well read, and that we are, as artists, reading the community, that I'm not just thinking of something that I like. I'm thinking of the larger stories for people.
Yeah, and I really like the idea of the totem and as a beacon. So,
Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Miera.
So Paula, I know we're approaching 1:15, and I believe you said you wanted to do kind of a quick summary, or yeah, just kind of review things
Yeah.
before we finished.
Okay, so I'm just going to show you one last little slide here. Let's see. Let me get there. Just because it's pretty. So I wanted to say that I think it's a remarkable opportunity, this commission, for all of us that are involved in it. It's just such a, in many ways, as you all know who've been participating in this, a radical idea, and it's such a good idea. I would love to be involved in this project to add to the exceptional vision and work of all of you who have advocated to reduce homelessness in the Albuquerque-Bernalillo County metro area. But I would also love to be involved in this project because it will give me, as an artist, another arena to support the creative and important endeavor of a very special population's opportunity to tell their stories of strength in the public sphere. Thank you guys so much for your patience and kindness and all your great questions. I look forward to hearing from you, and best to all of you. Thank you.